history of life. For further information, as always, you go to the individual Wikipedia article, History of Life. So the history of life on Earth traces the processes by which organisms have evolved from the earliest emergence of life to present day. Earth formed about 4.5 billion years ago, and all life on Earth, both living and extinct, descended from a last universal common ancestor that lived about 3.5 billion years ago. All right, lots of billions of years. So continue further. So MES note, common descent is a concept in evolutionary biology applicable when one species is the ancestor of two or more species later in time. All living beings are in fact descendants of a unique ancestor commonly referred to as a last universal common ancestor, or LUCA. LUCA of all, so last universal common ancestor of all life on Earth, according to modern evolutionary biology theory and so on. So the last universal common ancestor, or last universal cellular ancestor, you could also put the cellular in there too, or common, LUCA. Yeah, and this is also called the last universal ancestor, or LUA, L-U-A, is the most recent population, population of organisms from which all organisms now living on Earth have a common descent. Yeah, so basically speaking of a collection of species or organisms, so such as over here, when one species is the ancestor of two or more. Not necessarily one specific organism, but yeah, species right here. So from which all organisms now living on Earth have a common descent, and it's called the most recent common ancestor of all current life on Earth. And continue further. So the most common recent ancestor, or MRCA, or also called last common ancestor, LCA, or co-ancestor. Yeah, or consistor, I think that's how to pronounce it. Yes, basically the most recent common ancestor, MRCA, or last common ancestor, LCA, or consistor of a set of organisms is the most recent individual from which all the organisms of the set are descended. So here is some illustrations of this. So figure here, this one is from Springer.com. And so this is schematic diagrams of a 3-domain and 2-domain tree. So A is 3-domain, and this is A is 3-domain is A, and then 2-domain is B, this tree. So it depends on how you want to classify. So here's the last universal common ancestor, is the one that's common to all of the life. So here's 3 domains of the major classification of life. So you have the bacteria, archaea, and then eukaryota. And notice this one's common to all of them, like that. And now what we have here is, this is common to all the life. And here I just added more info from that website. So here's LUCA, or LUCA, or LUCA, refers to the last universal common ancestor, while the MRCA of all archaea is the most recent common ancestor of the archaea. So what you have is this one here in A. This is the universal the common ancestors to all of them, so all of them branch out to this. Now this one is just to the archaea. And in A, each of the 3 domains is monophyletic. So each of these contain the entire branches. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And then in B, the issue here is this is 3 domains. There's 1, 2, 3. This one's 2 domains. In B, the MRCA of the archaea, or the most recent common ancestor of all of the archaea, is an ancestor of all the eukaryotes as well. So the key is as well. Yeah, so the key as well there, making the Archean domain paraphyletic, or paraphyletic. Yeah, paraphyletic. Thus, some archaea are more closely related to the eukaryotes than they are to some other archaea. So this one would be 2 domains here. Yeah, because what you're doing here in this case, this is of all the archaea. You're separating this and separating this from this one here. So it does not contain an entire branch. So this archaea is not similar to this one right here. So basically, this would be a setup such that this branches out over there. So now, and this isn't going to be considered 4 domains, because these ones are the same domains. But this is more closely related to this one. So hence, this classification system, again, this all depends on how you want to classify it. This one would be 2 domains and would consider all this together, because the archaea is paraphyletic, whereas this one is monophyletic. So all of it's contained in the branch. So then you'll have 2 domains, 1, 2, that contains all of those. just because you have, according to this classification, you have some that are more similar to a eukaryota and some that aren't similar to it. And then whereas this setup is if you classify them as set up like this, if you have it in this case where archaea is not similar to a eukaryota. But nonetheless, this is the MRCA of all archaea. And this one is the MRCA of, well, this could be of, actually this branches out there, so this would be of eukaryota here. But then this one would be of both, so this, if you consider this as a separate domain. And then the last universal common one for all of life, all three domains in the classification system, would be over here. So there it is, and there. So that's pretty much the same. Yeah, that's pretty much the illustration of the last universal versus the most recent. Those most recent, and depends on how you want to classify. And let's continue further. So the similarities among all present-day species indicate that they have diverged through the process of evolution from their common ancestor. So yes, that is the main reasoning, actually. So that all species are similar. Yeah, so the similarities, because remember, they have legs, arms, etc., breathing, most of them. So biologists regard the ubiquity, or which is widespread occurrence of the genetic code as evidence of universal common descent. Yeah, for all bacteria, archaea, and eukaryotes. So yes, the fact that they use the genetic code, yeah, and it's widespread in all of the, basically they all use DNA, RNA, etc., in all of the bacteria, archaea, and eukaryotes. That's also considered as evidence for universal common descent. It's coming from a single species. So MES notes, so this one right here is a illustration of the life timeline. So here is some setups here. So we have, this is 4.5 billion years ago, or 4,500 million years ago. So if Earth formed earliest water, this is the Hadean, or Hadean, this is the Hadean epoch or period, and then that's water. Then you have single-celled life at 4 billion years ago, and then you have LHB meteorites, this is earliest life, LHB meteorites. That's the late heavy bombardment, or LHB, or lunar catalysm, or cataclysm. Yeah, so lunar cataclysm is a hypothesized event thought to have occurred approximately 4.1 to 3.8 billion years ago, or GA. Yeah, for giga, I think. All right, so that's this one here. Then you have earliest oxygen, 3.5 billion years ago. This is Archean period. And then you got this Ponolaga glaciation, or Pongola glaciation, or glaciation. I think it's how you pronounce it. It's a bit tough. I had to Google these and pause the video and Google each pronunciation. So a glacial period, alternatively glacial or glaciation, is an interval of time, thousands of years within an ice age, that is marked by colder temperatures and glacier advances. And interglacials, on the other hand, are periods of warmer climate between glacial periods. And so a glacier is a persistent body of dense ice that is constantly moving under its own weight. And over here, an ice age is a long period of reduction in the Earth's temperature, in the temperature of the Earth's surface and atmosphere, resulting in the presence or expansion of continental and polar ice sheets, which are greater than 50,000 kilometers squared, so area, and alpine or mountainous glaciers. Or glaciers. Okay, continue back up here. So the next one is, that's photosynthesis in here. There's a bunch of water freezing here. You have oxygen crisis, and then you have this another glaciation, Huronian, or Huronian glaciation is a glaciation, glaciation. So then another cold period over there. Now you have the earliest multicellular life. So that's photosynthesis. This is let's see, this is earliest life, single-celled life. Now you have multiple cell life. Now you have the eukaryotes with cell nucleus. And this is the Proterozoic period over there. And then what you have is earliest fungi. And then we have sexual reproduction, multicellular life in this period. And you get some plants branching out between this. And this is the this is a Phanerozoic. Phanerozoic period or epoch, and this is up to present time, I believe. So then you have earliest plants, earliest animals, cryogenian ice age, and then we have over here the Ediacaran biota, and then you have Cambrian explosion, then you have another glaciation, Andean glaciation, your glaciation, then you have earliest tetrapods, Karoo Ice Age, another Ice Age, and you have arthropods, mollusks, or mollusks, basically you have a bunch of insects right here, and you have plants after the cellular life period. Now you have dinosaurs, you have mammals, primates, birds, flowers, and then earliest apes, and then there's the Quaternary Ice Age, and that's the most recent one. Yeah, most recently cohorting this timeline over here. Let's continue further, and let's read up on more of this one here. This is the Oxygen Crisis, or Great Oxidation Event, GOE. Yeah, and this oxygen crisis, that's actually from here. So this is in this period right here in between the Archean and the Proterozoic period. So oxygen crisis right here at the photosynthesis stage, just before the multicellular life right here, earliest multicellular life. And let's go over here. So the oxygen crisis, or Great Oxidation Event, GOE, yeah, sometimes called the Great Oxygenation Event, was a time period when the Earth's atmosphere and shallow ocean first experienced a rise in oxygen, approximately 2.4 to 2.0 this is billion years ago, during the Paleoproterozoic era. Oh yeah, so that's era, it's not epoch. Yeah, but it's still all the same thing, just classification. So continue further, and resulting in many existing species on Earth to die out. So basically, there's a pumping in of a whole bunch of oxygen. And then this right here, the Ediacaran or Ediacaran biota. This one right here, as we mentioned it over here, Ediacaran biota. This is near the this period of near the end of this multicellular life period. And then where you just before you have it during plants, and just before you have bigger insects and bigger organisms getting produced there or forming magically. So going further, so the Ediacaran biota is a taxonomic period classification that consists of all life forms that were present on Earth during the Ediacaran period, which is from 635 to 541 million years ago. These were composed of enigmatic or mysterious tubular and frond-shaped, which is a frond is a large divided leaf, and it's basically composed of this, mostly sessile which lacks self locomotion organisms. So in other words, it was basically mysterious, tubular, leaf shaped, and they lacked self locomotion. So organisms that lacked, they're basically immobile. So that's when that's all life forms that were present on Earth during this period. And then the tetrapods, and that's over here. Notice the word tetra, that was just 4. So we have, I think that's Latin, going here. Yeah, this is this period here. This is earliest tetrapods there. And then tetrapods from Greek, Greek, not Latin. So tetra, 4, and then paus, foot, and basically you have 4 pods, or 4 feet, or 4-limbed animals. The Cambrian explosion or Cambrian radiation, that's right over here. It's Cambrian explosion right here, just before all the bunch of insects and bigger animals started rising. So the Cambrian explosion or Cambrian radiation was an event approximately 541 million years ago, when practically all major animal phyla started appearing in the fossil record. And a fossil, from classical Latin fossilis, literally obtained by digging, it literally means obtained by digging, is any preserved remains, impression, or trace of any once living thing from a past geological age. Very fascinating. Alright, so now we have some other figures right here. Yeah, this one here is a big giant figure of it, and they'll go over it more specifically. So this one is from let's try that again. So stratigraphy, this is a chronostratigraphic chart right here. And let's have a look at this right here. So yeah, it shows here. So this is eon and era and period. So eon is on the left one, and then there's series or epoch, stage or age. And this is eonithum, and this is erathem in the system. Eonithum, and this is eranithum. I'll just call it era and eon. I think it's the longer version of it. And then there's system or period, I'll call it period. So eon, era, period. Then we have epoch or series, stage or age. Yeah, and another note here is this right here, GSSP. So this is the stage, and now we have these checkpoints in between each of these that divides the stage, and there's the numerical age in millions of years ago. And if we just scroll over here, so the GSSP is a global boundary stratotype section and point, is an internationally agreed upon reference point in a stratigraphic section which defines the lower boundary of a stage on the geological timescale. And so it defines on the lower boundary of the stage. So you have the stage or age right there, and so at this point at the lower boundary. And continue further. So let's just read this up on Chronostratigraphic chart here. So Chronostratigraphy, Chronostratigraphy is the branch of stratigraphy. Chronostratigraphy is the branch of stratigraphy that studies the ages of rock strata in relation to time. And stratigraphy is a branch of geology concerned with the study of rock layers called strata and layering or stratification. That's fascinating stuff. And here's a strata in Caveat, Argentina. So look at these layers there, and the idea is to try to guess or try to determine the approximate ages of these layers here throughout time as they get layered with different time periods and different environmental conditions. Yeah, and I think that's pronounced again Cafayate. It's very interesting. Anyways, let's go back here. Let's just look at this generally. So we have the eon. This is the Phanerozoic eon. Then you have the era, which is this divided this one in this Cenozoic. And then you have the periods right here, the Paleogene, Neogene, and then the Quaternary, most recent one. And so you have a whole bunch over here. I'm not going to go over them too much. I'm just going to go scroll over here. Just to illustrate it, you can always view these in the notes, and also in the put this on the Hive blockchain. And you can download these and see these more closely. And also there's a link to it. But so whenever you need to see it, and it goes all the way over here, the Hadean period or Hadean period at the beginning, 4.6 billion years ago, and then there's a pre-Cambrian, and then that's actually over on this one here. This is the eon. There's a pre-Cambrian there, and then there's afterwards there's the Cambrian over here, and the period which is part of the Phanerozoic and so on. So it's very fascinating. Anyways, continue further. Actually, going back here, just a note here. So it's a Precambrian, but this is also a more general one. These are both. Notice how it's combined these two right here. And this is the Archean, and then we have the Proterozoic, and then it goes to over here the Paleozoic, or the and then it goes to this the Phanerozoic right there. But this is just illustrated. This is all Precambrian, and afterwards this is when Cambrian starts, which is Cambrian is a period. And this one here is considered. It can have a combination of eon there. So Precambrian eon. These are Precambrian eons, or these two. So that's fascinating stuff. And then it keeps going on and on. Alright, so I'm not going to go over that, otherwise it'll take forever. Let's continue further. So microbial mats are multi-layered sheets of coexisting bacteria and archaea. Of these coexisting bacteria and archaea were the dominant form of life in the early Archean Epoch, and that is, let's look where the Archean Epoch is right here. So Epoch, if you look over here, it's just there's a difference actually between the earlier figure right here. So it goes from eon, era, period, epoch, and then stage and age. And as you get later on, it doesn't get as fractionated in this figure. You got eon here. This one's still the same. So eon, era, period, and then this is epoch and age. So same as this. Same as both of these. But then if you go over here, now it gets a bit less detailed. So you have eon. This one matches with this. Then you have era, just to illustrate the figure. This is era. Then you have system or period is right here. And then the stage and age, or the epoch, is not there. So it's missing epoch and age. So basically it doesn't divide that out. And now instead of this GSSP, so that was that bench point that separates the stage. But now we have the GSSA there, and I believe these are the time frames there. And let's read what the GSSA is. I just added that right now quickly. So a global standard stratigraphic age, abbreviated GSSA, is a chronological reference point and criterion in the geological record used to define the boundaries, and which is an internationally sanctioned benchmark point between different geological periods, epochs, or ages on the overall geological time scale in a chronostratigraphically useful rock layer. And I believe it says over here. And this chart uses the ones, those for the Archean and Proterozoic periods. Yeah, so it uses it for these right here. And that's the GSSA. It's more like, yeah, just a general point, versus the GSSP is specifically for the stages. Section point is agreed upon, defines a lower boundary of a stage. So this doesn't have a stage there. And then basically we're looking at the early epoch of so the microbial mats in the early Archean epoch. So it's going to be somewhere here. It doesn't have the epoch here. This one is this one. So early Archean. So it's going to be somewhere over here. So if this is the early one, let's say it would have it, then it would have epochs split over here, etc. So it's going to be somewhere in the early one there. Let's go back. So that's about 4 billion years ago. 4 to 3.6 billion years ago. All right, so that is very interesting. Yeah, so that is 4 to 3.6 billion years ago. So let's read that again. So microbial mats, or multi-layered sheets of coexisting bacteria and archaea, were the dominant form of life in the early Archean epoch, and many of the major steps in early evolution are thought to have taken place in this environment. And yeah, I just had to quickly just check Google pronunciation for epoch. I think they pronounce it epic, or epic, yeah. So epic, I've been calling it epoch just because it looks like that. But yeah, you call it epic as well. But anyways, I will interchange both of them periodically, depending on how I feel, because it's spelled epoch, but it's when I Google the pronunciation says epic. So anyway, that is very interesting. Let's continue further. Alright, let's continue further. So the earliest evidence of eukaryotes dates from 1.85 billion years ago, and while they may have been present earlier, their diversification accelerated when they started using oxygen in their metabolism. Later, around 1.7 billion years ago, multicellular organisms began to appear, with differentiated cells performing specialized functions. And going further, so algae-like multicellular land plants are dated back even to about 1 billion years ago, although evidence suggests that microorganisms formed the earliest terrestrial ecosystems, or ecosystems on land, at least 2.7 billion years ago. Yes, going further, so microorganisms are thought to have paved the way for the inception of land plants in the Ordovician period. Yeah, or I think it's pronounced Ordovician period. Alright, so I had to search that up. Land plants were so successful that they are thought to have contributed to the late Devonian extinction event. Yeah, no, actually, I think it's pronounced Devonian extinction event. Yeah, so MES note, the late Devonian extinction event refers to one or more extinction events in the late Devonian epoch, or epic, which collectively represents one of five largest mass extinction events in the history of life on Earth. Well, let's look at the late Devonian epoch, or epic. Let's see that in this chart here. So here, the late one here. So that would be the upper one over there. And yeah, the period is this Devonian period. What goes after that? There is the next one is Carboniferous. Right after that. Yes, very interesting. And yeah, let's get back to this reading over here. And now let's look more at these extinction events. So here is a figure here. I'm just going to make this a bit smaller. And this is a comparison of the 3 episodes of extinction in the late Devonian, or late D period, to other mass extinction events in Earth's history. Plotted is the extinction intensity, calculated from marine genre, or plural of genus, basically the percent of the marine life that are extinct. So marine extinction intensity during the Phanerozoic So what we have here is the late D, and remember the Phanerozoic is going to be the era. Actually, no, that is the eon. So the eon is Phanerozoic, and it shows you the different extinction events. So Phanerozoic goes there. Does it keep going? Yeah, it keeps going up on this side, all the way up, all the way. Yeah, it just keeps going up. Phanerozoic. Yeah, I think so we're currently in the same Phanerozoic eon, and yeah, it's all the way up to here. And let's keep going further. Let's just look at the extinction events. There's the late Devonian, so that's late D right there. And yeah, there's some other extinction events. Some of them over here has at above 50%. Yeah, 50% marine extinction intensity, which is pretty ridiculous. Yeah, and here it says the 3 episodes of extinction in the late Devonian period. Late D, it could be these 3 or maybe this one. But yeah, see those spikes there. And then compare that with this over here, this supergiant spike in marine extinction there. And this PT, this is the Permian-Triassic or PT or P-TR, or extinction event, also known as the end Permian extinction, and colloquially or informally as the Great Dying, formed the boundary between the Permian and Jurassic geological periods, as well as between the Paleozoic and Mesozoic eras. Approximately 251.9 million years ago, it is the Earth's most severe known extinction event, with the extinction of 57% of biological families, 83% of genera, 81% of marine species, and 70% of terrestrial vertebrate species. And it was the largest known mass extinction of insects. Yes, the Great Dying right there. And it's between right here, Permian and Jurassic geological periods. Let's see where we can find that over. So it's the Great Dying. And periods go up above. Yeah, so it's between these ones here. And yeah, so there is the Permian and Jurassic. That's about 251 million years goes in between there. It's fascinating stuff. Let's continue further. Alright, so now let's go over this one. This is actually part of the same PT extinction event. Let's just put it all together. So there's evidence for 1 to 3 distinct pulses or phases of extinction. The scientific consensus is that the causes of extinction were elevated temperatures and widespread oceanic anoxia. Yeah, I think it's pronounced anoxia. And actually, just now I just realized I don't need to Google the pronunciation. I could just right-click here, and if I search in Microsoft Word, it brings up here in the definitions and absence of oxygen, and I could click this. So let's listen to this.
Anoxia.
Yeah, so anoxia. That's very interesting. So yes, took me this entire video length, and then finally realized I could just do that instead of Googling it on my own end after pausing the video. So anyways, anoxia, depletion of dissolved oxygen, and ocean acidification, which is decreasing pH, due to the large amounts of carbon dioxide that were emitted by the eruption of the Siberian traps, which are large region of volcanic rock in Siberia, Russia, resulting from volcanic activity. It has also been proposed that the burning of hydrocarbon deposits, including oil and coal, by the Siberian traps and emissions of methane by methanogenic microorganisms contributed to the extinction. Very fascinating. And over here, methanogens. Yeah, let's just search this up again. So I've been calling it, this is methanogen. That's what I pronounce it. And when I Google search, it says methanogen. So, but if I go here to the Google or the Microsoft one.
Methanogen.
So methanogen, yes. Very fascinating. Yeah, so methanogens are microorganisms that produce methane as a metabolic byproduct in hypoxic conditions, and hypoxia refers to low oxygen conditions. Yeah, so basically going back to the quote scientific consensus is that causes of extinction were elevated temperatures and widespread depletion of oxygen and acidification of the oceans. And due to the large amounts of carbon dioxide that were emitted by the eruption of the Siberian traps, which is basically a lot of volcanic activity going on in Russia. And then plus also the burning of hydrocarbon deposits, including oil and coal, by the Siberian traps and emissions of methane. By these methanogenic microorganisms contributed to the extinction. It's very interesting. Yes, continue further. So Ediacarobiota appeared during the Ediacaran period. Yeah, the Ediacaran or Ediacaran period, while vertebrates, along with most other modern phyla, originated about 525 million years ago during the Cambrian explosion. So look at this. This is the Ediacaran period. That's the Ediacaran biota. Let's see where that shows up in here. Yeah, that's all the way over here. There's the Ediacaran period there, but 500 to 600 million years ago, around there. And let's go scroll up. So we went over the Ediacaran, the event. The Ediacaran biota is that is a taxonomic period of classification consists of all life forms that are present during this era, the Ediacaran, from 635 to 541 million years ago. And there is the Ediacaran biota. And then there's the Cambrian explosion just after it. And there's that 500 million years ago. There's lots of millions of years ago. All right, continue further. So during the Permian period, synapsids. Yeah, let's just double check this. So synapsid. I think it's pronounced synapsid. Let's search this up. And here.
Synapsid.
Yeah, so synapsids. Yeah, so the Permian period, synapsids, which are mammals and similar animals, including the ancestors of mammals, dominated the land, but most of this group became extinct in the Permian-Jurassic extinction event 252 million years ago. During the recovery from this catastrophe, archosaurs, yeah, let's just play this pronunciation.
Archosaur.
Yeah, so archosaurs, which is a reptiles group, which involves birds, crocodilians, became the most abundant land vertebrate. So after the the P-TR extinction event, and then what we have is basically archosaurs or birds/crocodilians became the most abundant land vertebrates, and one archosaur group, the dinosaurs, dominated the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. Yeah, and here's pronunciation.
Cretaceous.
Yep, so it is Cretaceous. Yeah, so Cretaceous periods. Let me just note, Archosaurian literally means ruling reptiles, is a clade or clade of... Yeah, actually, before I go further, let's just see the pronunciation on this one here.
Clade.
Yeah, so they call it clades. Yeah, so is it clade? I've been calling it clad/clade. Yeah, basically trying to assume the more common pronunciation. But anyway, so Archosaurian is a clade of diapsids. Yeah, or diapsid. This is it.
Diapsid.
Yeah, so it's a clade of diapsids with birds and crocodilians as the only living representatives. Archosaurs are broadly classified as reptiles in the cladistic sense, or the cladistic sense of term, which includes birds. And this should be of the term. Just typo there or grammar mistake by the Wikipedia when I copy and paste it. And let's just double check this. So this is search this. And yeah, so we have here
cladistics.
Yeah, so cladistics there. All right, so basically, yeah, so Archosaurs is a clade of diapsids, and then with birds and crocodilians as the only living representatives. And these diapsids, are also called two arches, are a group of amniotetrapods. Let's see if we could find this over here, how to pronounce this. So yes, this has saved my life. Saved me a lot of time just doing this.
Amniote.
Yeah, so this is amniote. So diapsids or two arches are a group of amniote tetrapods, or which are four-limbed vertebrates that develop two holes called temporal venestra. Let's see this. Search this up.
Fenestra.
Oh yeah, venestra. So temporal venestra in each side of their skulls about 300 million years ago during the late Carboniferous period. Let's see. This one has it here. Search, or yes, Carboniferous or Carboniferous.
Carboniferous.
Yeah, so Carboniferous. Yeah, so Carboniferous, period. And to continue further, so in infratemporal fenestra, and this is over here, this temporal fenestra. So in infratemporal fenestra, we'll go over this in a bit. Let's just read this. Okay, it doesn't have the pronunciation here, so I'm just going to go along with it. So in infratemporal fenestra, also called the lateral temporal fenestra, or simply just temporal fenestra, as over here, is an opening in the skull behind the orbit in some animals. An opening in front of the eye sockets, conversely, is called an antorbital fenestra. So antorbital fenestra or infratemporal fenestra. Well, yeah, compare the two. Let's just see if this has a pronunciation. Search here. And doesn't have it here. So I'm just going to go along with my pronunciation. So it's called an antorbital fenestra. Both of these openings reduce the weight of the skull. Infratemporal fenestrae are commonly... I'll just search how this pronounces. Alright. And let's see this one.
Fenestra.
Goes back to the fenestra. So, venestri. Yeah, so I just had to Google this one. So this is venestri. That's what Google says. So infratemporal venestri are commonly, although not universally, seen in the fossilized skulls of dinosaurs. Yeah, so it's commonly, but yeah, not universally. So here is the setup right here, just to illustrate. Remember that archosaurs are clad of these types of synapsids. I mean, diapsid. Yeah, diapsids right here. So a clad of that. So the lateral temporal fenestra in relation to the other skull openings in the dinosaur Mazopondylus. Let's just see if this has a pronunciation there. Search. Let's see if it has it. It doesn't have it there, but we can... Yeah, we could try to pronounce it from this one instead of just Googling it. So we could do Mazospondylasis. Mazospondylasis. Yeah, let's try that again. So Mazospondylus. Okay, I'm just going to call that. Sounds about right. So the lateral temporal fenestra in relation to the other skull openings in the dinosaur Mazospondylus. And what we have here is there's the this is the mandibular fenestra's opening in the mandible, the jaw over there. This is the external narus, again another opening. This is antorbital fenestra. Right there is in front of the eye. There's the orbit or the eye socket area, and it goes through the whole thing. So notice how it goes through straight up like that. And then there is the lateral temporal fenestra, so lateral for side, and then it goes straight through and is behind the eyes. And this is the super. Then this is the ones on top. Yes, this one goes straight through. So it should be somewhere through this way and this way. But then these ones are the top down. These are going top down. And these are supratemporal fenestra. Yeah, I think that's how it is there. So it can either go top down or it could even do a loop inside maybe. It's a bit hard to grasp from this non-3D image. But yeah, it's very interesting. Continue further. So here is just schematic. So diagram of a diapsid skull with temporal openings, unlike an anapsid. Anapsida. Yeah, or anapsida. Yeah, so we have basically a bunch of openings right here. There's temporal ones behind the eye socket. So the eye is going to be here, and there's some behind it. So that's temporal. And then anteroberal, I think that one's in front. Let's see what it says. The name of that one again. Yeah, that is the antorbital. Antorbital one is in front of the orbit there, or the eye socket there. And going here, so there's compare this with this one here. So this is a diapsid, and this is an anapsid. An anapsid is an amniote. Yeah, or let's try this again.
Amniote.
Yeah, so it's an amniote. So an anapsid and an anapsid is an amniote whose skull lacks one or more skull openings, called fenestra, near the temples. Yeah, so that's where the temporal is. Temple is behind the eye there. So here's an anapsid skull over here, and no, so there's nothing behind it. There's no holes there. This one has holes, so it could be a lightweight animal. It's more agile. And so the temple is a juncture. Is a juncture where. Let's try that again.
Juncture.
Yes, it's a juncture where 4 skull bones fuse together: the frontal, the parietal, temporal, and the sphenoid. Let's try this one. Search this.
Parietal.
Yeah, so the frontal, the parietal, the temporal, and then this is going to be, search this. All right.
Sphenoid.
Yeah, and the sphenoid. So those are different skull bones fused together. And there's the temple area just behind the eye. So then this would be a temporal fenestra if you had a big giant hole that goes through your head. Or through your skull there. Yes. So that's the temple there. Let's make this smaller. Doesn't need to be that big. So there is a location of temple. And that's fascinating stuff. Continue further. Here's all the types of skull bones together. So here is a human skull right here. There's a temporal bone right there. There's the frontal. And yeah, so the temple's going to be the junction of all of them. There's a sphenoid. There's a parietal. And what is the other one? No, so let's go back here. So it had a juncture of the frontal, parietal, temporal, and sphenoid. And where? Oh, there's a sphenoid. There's frontal. There's parietal. There's temporal. So this is the juncture of all of them. So there's your temple right there. So let's go back here. So temple is a juncture where 4 skull bones fuse together: frontal, parietal, temporal, and sphenoid. So yes, this is absolutely fascinating there. And yeah, there's the other bones as well. There's the mandible. There's zygomatics over here. There's a lacrimal maxilla. This is the Crocodilia. Yeah, it's apologies for any mispronunciations. There's a nasal opening there, or nasal bone there. There's a ethmoid, etc. Sphenoid there, and yeah, maxilla, and so on. Yeah, I'm not gonna search up the pronunciations because they didn't come up in the text. if they do, I'll pronounce it. So anyways, reptiles, as most commonly defined, are the animals in the class Reptilia, which is a paraphyletic grouping comprising all amniotes except synapsids, which are mammals and their extinct relatives, and aves, which are birds. So now this one definitely needs a search. Aves or aves?
Aves.
So it's aves. I got that way off. So aves, which are birds. Crocodilia or Crocodilia, with a Y there, is an order of mostly large, predatory, semi-aquatic reptiles known as crocodilians. The order Crocodilia includes the true crocodiles, which is family Crocodiliae. Let's just see how that's pronounced. Alright, and then search this right here. And doesn't have that. So, we'll just call it, Crocodili. Yeah, or Crocodilidae, I think. I just have to Google that. So, the alligators and caimans, see this one. And there it is.
Cayman.
And caiman, yes. The crocodiles and caimans, family Alligatoridae. Alligatoridae. We could try this one time to see if it shows up. And yeah, it does not show it. Yeah, I'll just Google this. So Alligatoridae or Alligatoridae. So anyways. And the Giraffilia. Okay, this better have this. Okay. Yeah, actually it's a gharial, so I just pronounce that. So then, the order Crocodilia includes the true crocodiles or family Crocodilidae, the alligators and caimans, family Alligatoridae, and the gharial. Gharial and false gharial, which is the family Gavilididae, It's not here, but just Google it. So Gavialidae, yeah, Gavialidae or Gavialidae. So although the term crocodiles is sometimes used to refer all of these, crocodilians is a less ambiguous vernacular term for members of this group. And where vernacular just refers to common / informal language over there. So it's a less ambiguous vernacular or informal term for members of this group. Yeah, so crocodilians is more more general. And then if you want to do specific, crocodiles, but informally, they're all just called crocodiles. They all look pretty much very similar. So here's Crocodilia. Then you could also call it crocodilians. And then there's the different subgroups there. You split this up into Alligatoridae. And this one is Longerastris, or Longerastris. And then there's a split up over here, and there's the alligator. Breaks up into here. Notice the slight differences there. If you can notice, this one's a super long tail there. Tail isn't as long. And notice how the mouth is more pinch-like versus the alligator set up there. And there's the Crocodilius. And so these, I would assume crocodiles go over towards here. Yeah, so here, true crocodiles is family Crocodilidae. So that's over here. These are the true crocodiles there. And I'll see a comparison soon. It's going over, so just scroll down. And notice that the mouths will be an interesting one. So alligators. Okay, so let's just have a gander at these right here. So alligator versus crocodile physical appearance. So we have, these are the alligator group over here. And the alligator, the quote true alligator would probably be this one here. But generally over, these ones would be in the alligator's side. And there's a crocodile here. So let's just compare these crocodiles or crocodilus with these alligators. So generally, these would be the best way to compare. So the alligator versus crocodile physical appearance. This is from facts.net, and we could do some zooming in here. Let's zoom in right here. All right, so this one is. Yeah, alligators on the left, and then there's crocodile. Notice the mouth's right there. This one's more rounded, it's more straight there. So mouth, both upper and lower teeth are visible when mouth is closed. You have the upper and lower the most visible. Lower teeth are not visible when mouth is closed for a alligator. And this is crocodile. Notice how its mouth. Notice how its snout or its the skull shape is V-shaped. So snout long and pointed V-shape, and then snout long and rounded. Upward facing nostrils, where the nose is upward facing nostrils. And this one, I'm not sure where the nostrils are on. Yeah, it's more on the side there. Yeah, so it's sideways. This one would be above there. Actually, no, that's over here. Yeah, these are the eyes, not the nostrils. This is pointing upwards. This is more sideways-ish. But notice it's a V shape. This is more rounded, U. And then the size of a crocodile is about 11 feet to 19 feet. And it's about 200 kilograms to 1,000 kilograms. Versus this one here, size of this one is from 8.2 feet to 11.2 feet. So, yeah, much smaller typically than a crocodile. And 91 kilograms to 360 kilograms. So, almost 2 to 3 times smaller, which is quite fascinating. But even the range here from this crocodile, 200 to 1,000 kilograms. So yeah, it's quite fascinating. And then the tail, muscular and flat tail and muscular body, armored body with bony plates on their skin. So it's armored, it's smaller, it's rounded snout. And then this one, your tail long and massive, body thick and plated. So thick body, plated. This one is armored body with bony plates on their skin. So bony plates on the skin. This one also seems like it a bit too, but it's more plated, but doesn't look like, it looks like just a big blob. This one looks more condensed. So anyways, to me it looks very similar, especially if you see them in the wild and there isn't this a bunch of notes here written there. Let's just zoom out. All right. Let's zoom all the way out. And I think one more. This should be fit. This should be it. Yeah, that's it. So crocodiles versus alligators. Lizard-like. So here's a cartoon. So wronghands1.com. So So crocodile versus alligator. So you have crocodile versus alligator. Crocodile's lizard-like shape, long, toothy snout, hangs out in swamps, looks like an alligator, isn't an alligator. And lizard-like shape here, for the alligator, long, toothy snout, hangs out in swamps, looks like a crocodile, isn't a crocodile. That's from John Atkinson. Wrong Hands. GoComics.com/wrong-hands. Or wronghands1.com. That's where I got this from. So, yes, now this is alligator versus crocodile versus alligator. You be the judge. Alright, so let's continue further. So, after the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event, and we're gonna do a search of Paleogene. There it is.
Paleogene.
Yeah, so Paleogene. So after the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event, which is an asteroid impact hypothesis, 66 million years ago, killed off the non-avian dinosaurs, the non-flying ones. Mammals increased rapidly in size and diversity. Such mass extinctions may have accelerated evolution by providing opportunities for new groups of organisms to diversify. Yeah, supposedly a big giant asteroid hit. So the Cretaceous-Paleogene or K-PG extinction event, also known as the Cretaceous-Tertiary. Let's just do a quick check on this one. Tertiary. Let's see this.
Tertiary.
Or tertiary. Cretaceous tertiary, and it's probably needs double checking as well.
Cretaceous.
All right, so I got that right. So Cretaceous and Tertiary K-T extinction was a sudden mass extinction of 3/4 of the plant and animal species on Earth, approximately 66 million years ago, with the exception of some ectothermic species such as sea turtles and crocodilians. No tetrapods weighing more than 25 kilos or 55 pounds survived. We'll get to those in a bit. I just want to see where the K-PG, also known as the KT extinction. So K-PG or K- T or PG. Let's just go over this one here. So yeah, K-PG, about 66 million years ago. That is that supposed asteroid impact. So we'll keep going further. All right. So what do we have here? So going here. So besides, with the exception of ectotherms, we'll get to that in a bit. Ectotherm species such as sea turtles and crocodilians, no tetrapods weighing more than 25 kilograms or 55 pounds survived. As originally proposed in 1980 by a team of scientists led by Luis Alvarez and his son Walter, it is now generally thought that the K-PG extinction was caused by the impact of a massive comet or asteroid, 10 to 15 kilometers or 6 to 9 miles wide. 66 million years ago, which devastated the global environment, mainly through a lingering impact winter, which halted photosynthesis in plants and plankton. That's very interesting. So, an ectotherm, from the Greek, is ektos, or meaning outside, and thermos, meaning heat, is an organism in which internal physiological sources of heat are of relatively small or of quite negligible importance in controlling body temperature. So, basically doesn't have much internal heat generation. And it's coming from outside. In other words, it's cold-blooded. Such organisms, for example, frogs, rely on environmental heat sources, which permit them to operate at very economical metabolic rates. Yeah, so it can conserve a lot of energy. It's just getting the energy from, or the heat from outside. So asteroids are made up of metals and rocky material, while comets are made up of ice, dust, and rocky material. So basically, it's ice rock is a comet. And dust. Comets which approach the sun lose material in each orbit with each orbit, because some of their ice melts and vaporizes to form a tail. So the difference between asteroid and a comet, just that materials shooting out either dust or ice. Yeah, so an impact winter is a hypothesized period of prolonged cold weather due to the impact of a large asteroid or comet on the Earth's surface. if an asteroid were to strike land or a shallow body of water, it would eject an enormous amount of dust, ash, and other material into the atmosphere, blocking the radiation from the sun. This would cause the global temperatures to decrease drastically. Yes, very interesting there. So if they can decrease global temperature, maybe an asteroid hitting the Earth, hitting land or hitting the Earth somewhere in shallow water, could be the solution to, quote, climate change, or the so-called global warming narrative in the mainstream. Anyways, going back here, so basically the dinosaurs were all killed off, besides the crocodilians. Yeah, and sea turtles. Yeah, so basically with the exception of some ectothermic species such as sea turtles and crocodilians, no tetrapods or four-legged animals weighing more than 25 kilos or 55 pounds survived. And yeah, the question always is asked, especially when you see TV shows or movies that depict dinosaurs interacting with humans. According to this one right here, well, this is 66 million years ago. This is the supposed asteroid or comet theory there. So where it wiped off a lot of the dinosaurs. Yeah, so in fact, if you go further here, if we read this up, humans weren't around at the same time as the dinosaurs. So this is from Britannica or Britannica. Yeah, so Britannica.com. And yeah, also just a side note. So initially, so before I was pronouncing words when I had trouble, I would Google them and then see what the pronunciation was on the Google's pronunciation search. And then afterwards, I realized you could just do the search where you could right click and search here. And then I realized, also with Microsoft Word, you could also just do it directly. So you can go here. So if you go review, that's made it smaller so you can see, and you can click this read aloud. But I have it here added to access the toolbar, so right here. And then you can just press it and it will pronounce.
Britannica.
Yeah, so Britannica. And let's just change this one, the zero. Let's try this. Let's see.
TV show.
Britannica.
Okay, there it is. Yeah, so Britannica.
TV show.
Okay, let's try it again.
Britannica.
Alright, so Britannica. Let's just go backwards now. Alright, so Britannica. TV shows such as the Flintstones depict humans and dinosaurs living together in harmony, but that's just fiction, right? Actually, not quite. The dinosaurs, the dinosaurs the earliest humans lived among were not, is the keyword, were not the huge lumbering lizards we most commonly think of when we see the word. Those had been extinct for almost 66 million years ago, so the asteroid or comet hit. Before the first humans began to make their mark. The dinosaurs that commingled with our ancient ancestors were modern birds, the closest natural relatives to the extinct dinosaurs, which means that we live with dinosaurs too. So yes, technically, if you consider birds as dinosaurs, then we live with them. And again, going back to the size, yes, the birds basically no tetrapods or many other types of animals were weighing more than 25 kilos survived that big catastrophe. So anyways,